This is what I just want to complete it so I know we then will continue with moreover on page 21. The kol hachoshech, and all of the darkness, sheyesh bebchina daled, and all the darkness in phase 4 is thus hu machmat haor hamekubal me'akav she'ena me'iyeh sham k'mevuah. You know what he's saying now? But you think that there is an illusion? Know that didn't even emanate, it didn't originate in the vessels. See, that's the we want the whole package, right? We want free will. So you wanted a creative process, right? Without the creative process, without the illusionary process. So listen, you can't say, give me half the package, right? Give me the opportunity with the kav. Give me the opportunity there should be illusion, because then I can do something about it. But when I do something about it, cut off part of the kav, that illusionary process, and don't let that flow into here. But you're saying, but the way you get a little more light into the circular vessel is only by virtue. That's what you demanded. You demanded that there be a kav. We demanded there be a kav so we can remove bread of shame. The kav has its package, which includes illusion. But now when it comes, you see, that darkness, why should there be darkness? There should be complete illusion. But you wanted there the kav. But you can separate that if you want to. And if you can understand now that in everything there must be an aspect of illusion. But remember, it's illusion. When there is a suffering, it's an illusion. But why should there be illusion? If the real me is full of light, why do I even see it as an illusion? Because you asked for the creative process in the first place, and the package that's called creative process, the kav, contains illusion. But you can differentiate that. So while it begins off as an illusion, and it must begin, because whatever enlightenment you have via the kav, you must understand that the flaws of the kav also came, but not because there is an essence of flaw. There is no flaw. There is no flaw. It is perfect. It is total. But you asked for a tikkun. You wanted to have an opportunity for tikkun. Then you've got to take the package. The package of tikkun says it creates light. It creates an altered state of consciousness. In other words, how a person who has to suffer blindness, the Ari says, when Mashiach comes, the blind people will see. The people without arms will have arms. Oh, wait a second. The answer is that Saginah, which is referred to as the rabbis in the Talmud, they weren't blind. For whatever reason, in the process, they had to appear blind to everybody else. But he wasn't blind. He saw. The same way as that arm that's not there is going to be there. Is it there or isn't it there? The illusion, it almost must begin with an illusion. Why must it begin with the illusion? That was the question. Because it comes from the kav. It does not come from the circular vessel. There is no illusion. But wait, there is no light. No. What you said, Marty, connection never severed. The rishimot are always there. You should always feel satisfied. But how can you feel satisfied there's no bread? You think there's no bread. And when you think there's no bread, there is no bread. That's why it says in the Zohar, Moshe said the snake became again a stick. Maybe it was an illusion. If you think illusion, it'll only be illusion. But remember, when Moshe thought that the rod became a snake, it became a snake, not an illusion. When you think bread on the table, but it has to, you can't settle for part of the package. But right now I feel there's no bread. Don't throw in any of these things about maybe there is going to be bread on the table. I mean, how could there be bread on the table? I mean, no store will give me bread without, and the reasoning, oh, you're going to figure it out while you got troubles. It's really not there. That's what.
You're sitting there and creating it.
That's right. You're sitting there and creating it.
That's why there is a whole book today to a person that wants to win, let's say, a car. You have every morning to wake up, a whole book. And you have to think, I'm going to have this car, I'm going to have this car. And they tell him, after some time, you're going to have the car.
Right.
It's a whole book that they're written
about. My wife took silver mine control.
Affirmations.
So what do they tell you? They tell you that, look, you're going to a place in Midtown, right? In Midtown, and there's no place in the street to park, because the places that you can park are obviously all taken up. But if you want to think that you have a place, someone's going to move out. Someone's going to move out. And you know what? Did it happen a lot of times that someone just moved out as you came there? It did happen. Now, why did it happen? Because it...
I want to. It's coincidence.
Coincidence. I mean, how we dismiss things. We have no confidence in ourselves that things can be good, by the way. Oh, when I get there, don't I know the problem of parking? You've already established. So I want, is maybe this whole conversation is only an illusion. We're trying to talk ourselves into things that really are not so. No, this study says that's not true. These illusions, the darkness in the circular vessels, there is no such thing. The circular vessels never became empty. They only became empty so there should be an illusion to the kav that it looks like it's empty and I've got to fill it. Let's not even fool ourselves that after we're given this opportunity to feel that I'm now recreating the light in the vessels, right? You're not even doing that.
Yeah.
All that we wanted was really, there should be at least a somewhat of an illusion. Maybe make me even think, because am I really the creator? So the whole illusion was to create an illusion.
Doesn't that eliminate the kav though?
That's why it says when Mashiach comes, ultimately there's going to be no kav. That's what it says. When Mashiach comes, no more Shabbat, right? No more Pesach.
No more vacation.
No, everything is a vacation.
Then why just Purim?
Why just Purim?
This is the ultimate situation, as the vessel, love the neighbor as yourself.
Because that was, again, the expression that they said, everything's going to be good. We'll get into what. But anyway, Purim is going to say, we have a lot of reasons why. But anyway, everything else disappears. Well, isn't Shabbat worthwhile? Isn't it a good thing? I mean, like we're told, an animal works all the time. You've got to give it a little rest, right? And so when Shabbat comes, it's a great thing to rest. Of course, we can ask, why can't we do it on Tuesday? But beside that question, right? It's a good thing. What do you mean there won't be a necessity?
There really will be Shabbat.
Because you really don't need that rest. I mean, I know myself. I've got, sometimes I feel I've got to finish something. I go from 12 and I go to sleep for an hour or two. And I'm tired. I say, I'm not tired. All right, the body still, exercises some control. That's unfortunately. So sometimes I say to myself, forget about it. There is no body. It's not tired. Things of that nature. But again, depends what you decide. That's what we just learned. Huh? That's right. Sure. I mean, I once experienced that. Gilgul Shelig, which is one of the greatest purifications of creating a pure awareness and connecting. And one time, several years ago, I did it. I must tell you, I didn't want to get out of that snow. I mean, where you do it in a naked state. I didn't want to get it. It was one of the most blissful experiences I ever had. To remain right there, consumed in the snow. But you know what happens if you stay out there for a couple of hours, right? But it was one of the most blissful experiences. Yeah, it's true, because what a purification. I mean, you have gotten into that state. Oh, the body can't handle that. That's the problem. It's the body that is our problem. It's true. However, the body remains without an arm until a certain point, where at that given point, because that's the collective consciousness, unfortunately, as long as the entire world, that's what we call about robbing. We were talking about robbing. As long as the entire world is not in that purified state of consciousness, so while I may be totally there, the effect of the environment, the effect of others who are not there, creates this, this lack. The body still has energies that even if it doesn't get that energy from me, because I'm totally divorced from the desire to receive for oneself alone, but cosmically, collectively speaking, there are other people in the world that are still giving energy to the desire to receive for oneself alone, which is the body. And therefore, you can't rest in that snow. The body would suffer, because it's receiving energy from another point. All right?
You were saying about Moshe having the ability to turn the stick into a snake, like Adam Kadmon. He knew,
Right.
and he connected. Why can't we literally do that? When I say we, why can one human being do it and another one not literally do it? Why can Moshe do it and someone else not do it?
Because we have been programmed that we cannot. Even I, who is not programmed about the things one cannot do.
Why Moshe was not programmed?
Because Moshe was born on another cosmic level to begin with. That's why it says, Vayar Kitov. He already came into this world on an elevated state of consciousness.
So then it's not as simple as it sounds for us to do.
That's right. It is not simple. It is absolutely not simple. As I said, because even for Moshe it wasn't even easy.
You already said it's not so
It's
simple.
okay.
Now he's already eliminating
It's okay.
You're already canceling out. That's right. That's right.
It's for people who are going to listen to the tape and will have the question.
At least the thought comes
Are they really
in.
sitting there crazy, saying that they expect me to be able to do it? The answer is yes, of course.
If that's where you're at.
Possibilities. That's what we said.
Right.
The probably.
Ashlaya, illusion. It's numerology of Shmo. Same numerology. I don't know what it's saying, but it's the
Yes.
same.
All right. Numerology means if two words have the same numerical value, that means they both contain the same energy, thought, intelligence, but expressed differently. אותו דבר, it extends. זה ממשיך בצורה אחרת, דמיון. Okay.